I've taught hundreds, if not, well over 5,000 people probably to meditate in the last 30 years. It's one of those things, if you've ever been sitting there wondering, what the hell is it for? What is the point? One of those things that you practice every damn day and you're not quite sure what it's really doing for you. So I came up with this diagram. Actually, a guy named Simon Bowen did this genius model, and it is fantastic. So if you've ever wondered what's the point of meditation and really kind of the big picture look at it, this video is for you. My name is Dr. Doug Brackmann. I am a licensed psychologist and a practitioner first, believe it or not, and then teacher second. So I really put my, I try to walk the walk, and I have a very stringent 20-year practice of meditation. This is what it's done for me. If you want to kind of get a real understanding of identity, there's a prequel video to this, a couple of them, that really dive into the sense of self. I'll put the link up above. Might be a good one because I'm going to dive right in. This is called the Genius Model. And what it does, it really conceptualizes what I am doing, big picture as a therapist, but really dives into what is the practice of meditation given you. And the reason I suggested the prequel videos about the sense of self, because it's really a way of changing your identity. And that's where this model starts. And so we've got Venn diagram, which I love them, and this identity. Watch those other videos, and this will give you an idea where I'm going. Very simply, what I am doing is changing people's identity through the practices of meditation, through the practices of presenting. Why? Because if you look at, there's another video that I just put out about hell realms, and really the lowercase self, this self that is created by the neocortex and the central nervous system, is the root of all suffering. And why do we spend so much time on the cushion? Is because it makes you happier, very simply. So this identity, and I talk about it in my book Driven, and I talk about it in those other videos I mentioned earlier. And so what I am doing is changing this very simple who identity. And who do you think you are? Who do I think I am? It is this bizarre compilation of thoughts, beliefs, reactions, sensations, trauma, history. All of these things kind of go into this mix of this very confusing thing of who. And so I just very simply cancel that out. We change it into a what. And that what identity is so foundational in everything I teach, because it is a simple, unarguable, I think you can't think your way out of it or go deeper on it. Very simply, what I am is a monkey. I am a Homo sapien. You sitting there are a monkey. Feel your body. This is a biological being, just like cats and dogs and squirrels and, you know, Reese's monkeys. You are just another one of God's creatures on his green earth. And we think we are something different. We feel we are something different. We are not. We are very simply this animal. And so the practices that I teach, these are the things you do. What we do. And prior to this, in the who identity, what we do is react to both of our reflexes in our body, which all these other videos I talk, about how that's really trauma-based. You touch a hot stove, all these recordings are in the body. You walk into the kitchen and you brace against that stove a little bit. That comes up into this belief system, and you come up with narratives about why that stove is bad and dangerous and whatever. It is a aberration. It is a biological reaction creating this misery maker. So what we do most of the time is completely unconscious if we're stuck in this who identity. We shift to this what identity. And these are where the practices come in. And everything I teach is really a practice of actually observing, this new identity of what is the observer. and we have this mind, body, and soul, or monkey, elephant, observer. I talked in depth in all those other videos, and this shift is something that requires a hell of a lot of practice. Why? Because the stickiness of the who is unbelievable. And the greatest addiction of all human beings on this planet is the self, lowercase self. And why is it so addictive? Because it makes me feel like I am this cohesive thing traveling through time, and it makes me feel safe. Key of that is feel safe. And what is safe is the familiar. And so this wonderful word called karma, and everybody, I'm not a hippy dippy, I really am not, but that karma simply means in Sanskrit actions. And what your actions, what we do, creates your world. Well, duh. And so in this who identity, what we're doing is largely unconscious. And what this bigger circle is right here is outcomes. Or another way to say it is what we manifest. And what we manifest or create or outcomes. So who we are leads to this unconscious reactions. And again, we walk into the kitchen, we react to the stove, whether it's on or not. You are in this unconscious state, leading to outcomes that are largely perceived to be out of our control. And so in this who identity, it really leads to this, the world is happening to me. And we had this potential to really come up with a victim mentality. So this shift of identity to a what, and the practices to reinforce that, comes down to this fundamental requirement to take responsibility for your life. And that is where karma, or your actions, you want to make the unconscious karma. You want to work on your past life karma, these recordings stuck in the body. And the practice is actually to catch them and then become curious about it. What does that look like? You walk into the kitchen and you have these reactions to the stove, whether it's on or not. And so that is the foundation of meditation. And I talk about that in a bunch of other videos too, where this shift of, reality checking. And when you start to reality check, these are the new practices based on this new what identity, that will change everything, particularly about the outcomes, meaning that you will start to see your role in it, how you are actually manifesting and creating this world that you live in. And, you have bad karma. You're working up your karma, meaning that you are in autopilot of these reactions in the body and you're asleep. And so, the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, another wacky psychologist like me, very simply said, the root of all suffering is our ignorance. And ignorance is what? I don't even know what I'm ignoring. So this who identity is about being asleep to this confirmation bias world, reinforcing by these, what we do, being the victim of your own self, or coming up and reinforcing your own beliefs. So the fundamental shift to this what is watching those other videos I got going, understanding that this monkey elephant is the lowercase self, and the what identity becomes the capital X self. And that is the relationship between the observer and the body. Once you make that fundamental, these practices come in. And what are the practices? And I go into it. Very simply, my morning routine looks pretty wacky. I am a big advocate of breath work, and I'm making a bunch of videos about that and actually having my own breath works coming out. And breath work does what? It forces this self, this observer, into greater awareness. So very simply, all of these practices that I teach are really about discernment between, there's my thinking, and being able to discern thinking, there's my reactive elephant. But the discerner, the observer, your soul, this curious one, the non-judgmental one, the part of us that is related to God, made in his image, is the one that we're trying to get into the driver's seat. And when we start to do that, when we start to see the world for what it is and how much influence we really have over the world, this little overlap, what the primary benefit of meditation is, this one here is clarity. And so we get into this, we start to see reality for what it is, meaning that, our limbic system is designed to really create confirmation bias. And what a confirmation bias is, simplest way to say it is, we see what we feel. And it's not that, what we feel causes feelings, what we see causes feelings. It's actually the other way around, meaning that if I'm scared, all I see is snakes, and more likely to see snakes. And that reaction in the lowercase self, you see a snake, you react. That means that you're living in your karmic wheel or wheel of suffering. This capital S self. When we start these practices, and that's the meditation and the breath work and the cold plunge is probably one of the best ways to actually discern the monkey and the elephant. Want nothing to do with me getting in 41, 42 degree water every morning for 3 minutes. Nothing to do with it. But my knower, the observer, this new what identity means, very simply, I know it's good for this monkey and elephant to get in that. Most important part of it is the clarity that I get by not reacting to my emotion. And so it is a unbelievable shift when that starts. And you start to see that you have way more control over this world by reducing or stabilizing your central nervous system. And so all of these practices, I teach meditation and this mindfulness. And, mindfulness is a misnomer, because in Western cultures, we talk about, well, this is the mind. No, this is the brain. This entire system is the mind. And so mindfulness is literally your observing how this thing and this thing are colluding together. Where the new practices and where you start to get the clarity from is the stable central nervous system. You see, very simply, why that might scare you. You take the breath, you stabilize the central nervous system, you start to have the clarity, is it a snake or is it a stick? Massive change. What that leads to, and this is key, what that leads to is confidence. Confidence. And the confidence is outside of the self. I will say that again. Confidence is not about me. I have self-confidence. That's narcissism, guys. What confidence comes from is your practices, is your behavior. If I do it, I will get this outcome. If I don't do it, I won't get that outcome. It's not about me. And so this is a fundamental, really, understanding of how this self works. The self is an empty container. It really is, with limitless possibilities. And when you are stable and you have the clarity and you don't react to the snakes, you get different outcomes. And these outcomes then, first and foremost, become a sense that you have more power or effect in the world. That is what truly comes back into the self. And so this, I'll say this is power. Another word for it is self-efficacy in psychobabble. Self-efficacy, very simply, this self has greater effect in the world on outcomes. Huge. And so what happens very simply, and this is what I always say is, what am I selling? As a psychologist, I'm going to psychology. What, go into a psychologist's office, hopefully, and if you do, ask them what they're selling. Well, self-esteem. Whoops. They're going to try to treat you and teach you how to be a better who. That's what most of them are doing. And God bless them. And the self-esteem generation is, well, when I think about myself, I have all these wonderful feelings, literally, because that is going in the wrong direction. When I think about this self from this angle, I can see how I'm this biological being, that I have choices in this world, that I actually can do things differently. I don't have to be on autopilot. I don't have to be living in that karmic wheel. Then manifestation, I have the power to create it. That is a really powerful shift. And so this, you can see me getting excited about it. Hopefully you can get it. And this little circle in the middle, where they all come together. It's a flow state. And this Japanese word called Kaizen. Kaizen, another word for it is mastery. And it is this place where I have the clarity that I have choices in this world, that I'm not stuck in, these loops of myself. I'm able to actually see reality more clearly. I have confidence then. And, when I teach the shooting retreats and I do meditation shooting, foundational practices to really help discern monkey and elephant and observer, that confidence that if I build a process, if I have a practice for anything, whether it's, throwing darts or shooting a bow or an arrow or making videos, I have the confidence and the clarity and the power then to actually be in this state of constant improvement, building this state of being to where I am in flow some of the time, and it has no finish line. That is a beautiful part of this, particularly for my driven client. For me, where oftentimes this who identity is always believing that when you finally get to the finish line, then you can actually relax. Where this self is free of that wheel. We are in a constant state of improvement. And Kaizen means literally everything I do with the utmost intent and clarity I can, building a practice of perfection, trusting and knowing there is no perfection. And the power and the self-efficacy that I can affect my world, I'm no longer a victim in it. So, big overview. And I can dive deeper into these if you're interested. Throw some comments up. A lot of other videos. And if you didn't catch the ones at the beginning, they'll put some links down below or put some links up above. If you're questioning whether you are driven or not, please go to my assessment. I created an assessment. It's actually a 10 variable, real psychological measure of personality, looking at the 10 traits about being driven. It is amidriven.com. Have a look. Follow up this video if you're really interested in how to actually break this wheel and how trauma is connected to it. The Hell Realms video after would be a good one after this. So appreciate your time.